The book that I'm showing images from today is called Tiny Homes on the Move. 2 years ago, we produced tiny homes. Some of them were on wheels, but not all of them. But this book is called Tiny Homes on the Move, and the subtitle is Wheels and Water. They're either on wheels or they're in the water. So the first thing in the book here is a houseboat in Halong Bay, Vietnam. I'm going to be sort of reading from here because I can't memorize all the specifics of these different vehicles and boats. So anyway, that was taken by a photographer named Hugo Hunt, and it's just sort of obvious what it is. This is a 1989 Volkswagen Westphalia camper van. It's got a 2200cc Subaru engine in it. It's got a 2-burner stove top, a furnace, 12-gallon water tank, and a roof-mounted solar panel. This is a 1994 Econoline van built by my favorite builder in the world, Lloyd Kahn, up in British Columbia. He cut the sides off the van and he raised it up. A couple of things he did here, which I really like in a very small home, is he's got a curved ceiling. He's got aluminized mylar insulation, which reflects the rugs on the floor. And the thing here that makes it work so is only 78 square feet of floor space. He's got windows. These are sliding Lexan windows all the way around at eye level, so that you're in this very tiny space, but you feel like you're outside. This is a truck cabin of 2 French carpenters who operate out of their vans. And so they go off to work in their vans with their tools, and they come back at night and they plug into this unit. They've got a connection. They slide open their doors, so they've got a stove and a heater and a table and everything inside. This is Mike Bassett's truck. I don't know if he showed you pictures of this. This is his truck that he built, where he can carry a snowmobile on the top. And Mike is the star builder in our book, Tiny Homes. We've usually had 3 builders in each of our building books, but in Tiny Homes, he was the one. And since then, he's built this truck. This is a 1999 Dodge Ram. He cut out the back of the cab. It's got a custom roll bar, and he's got a camper on top that lifts up, even with a snowmobile mounted on it. And there it is with the top up, and he sleeps in the back. This is a 6-cylinder, 6-speed Toyota truck that was converted to a flatbed. And the camper shell mounted on the back weighs only 1,000 pounds. He's got this is the best rig I've ever seen for traveling, like in Baja or in the desert. It's a 4x4. He's got a propane heater, an indoor and outdoor showers, solar panels, refrigerators, and a stove. He's got a king-size bed and a 6-foot guest bed. And the shell is down now. It lifts up. But when it's down, he's in stealth mode. So he can sleep in a neighborhood or something, and it doesn't look like anybody's in the vehicle. This is Jay Baldwin's Quick Up camper. I used to work with Jay when I was working on geodesic domes. And so this is a prototype of a camper that he's built. It's a Ford F-150 long bed automatic pickup truck with automatic transmission. It's got air conditioning, heavy-duty radiator, and a 1-ton capacity. The shell is built out of carbon fiber. That's, pardon? Yeah, they nest. They fold. So he's down at a level with the top of the cab. And there's Jay and his girlfriend inside. This is a guy in Fort Collins, Colorado. What's kind of nice about that unit is that it's curved in both axes. This is my friends, the French carpenters. They built this little place for a woman who lives on their land who has horses, and it's meant to be pulled by horses. Her name is Lorene, and the wood came from the land, and it's a recycled metal roof, and it's insulated with sheep's wool. This is a 1959 French Army truck that's owned by a guy in Dartmoor, England, and wood from the local sawmill, a corrugated steel on the top, and again insulated with sheep wool. This is a rig that the guy calls the Beer Moth. It's a 1954 Commer Q4 truck with it had 4,800 miles on it. He bought it in a museum for $4,500, and it took him 4 days and $1,000 in gas to get up to Scotland with it. And he said he was inspired by the trucks in our book and homework. This is Ophelia and Julianne's school bus home. They wanted to live up in Whistler, Canada, which is a very expensive area now, and they couldn't afford land, so they rented some land, and they bought a 76-passenger diesel, an international school bus, and fixed it up. It's got a 200-amp electrical connection, well water, propane gas range, water heater, and a composting toilet. That's the inside. I wanted to say something about curved roofs. I think the curved roof is really nice because of the space, especially in a small area. It gives you this feeling of spaciousness as opposed to, say, a steep gable. And usually in the smaller units, like the Gypsy Wagons, they'll put a bed at one end with storage underneath. This is Steve and Katie Erickson. They lived in this bus for 2 years, and then they moved into a house, and they were unhappy in the house, so they moved back into the bus. It's got a stove and an oven and a 5-gallon hot water tank and plenty of space. They said they like saving resources. There's the inside. This is a dentist whose dental office is in this bus on Hornby Island in British Columbia. He's got radiant heating in the floor, 3-zone music, whatever that is, digital x-rays, and a state-of-the-art clinic. This is a Gypsy Wagon that these people tour the USA with this thing, and they live in the East Bay somewhere. There's the interior. It's kind of a distorted shot with a wide-angle lens, but again, you see the curved roof and the bed at the other end. This is something that built by a woman named Kate Anderson in Portland, Oregon, and she calls it the Don Vardo. She says on a trailer it can go at 60 miles an hour. It doesn't have a kitchen or a bathroom or anything, but it's the kind of thing that you could put in your backyard and use for a guest bedroom or a studio for somebody that wants to get away. This is it's a Gypsy Wagon that's built on a 16-foot flatbed car hauler trailer. It's 14 feet long and 8 feet wide and has a copper roof. This is a shepherd's hut built in England by a guy named David Charrington. He was born on a sheep farm, and these shepherd's huts are what the shepherd would use to move around with the sheep. And he said that the land that they lived on was very kind of rocky, so they couldn't let the sheep graze down right to the nubs of the grass. So they'd let the sheep graze for a while, and then they'd move the sheep and fence them in, and the shepherd would haul this thing along. And he's built about 150 of these things. This is a woman who she decided she wanted. Well, I like the carpenter's belt she's got on there. She built this herself, and she said she wanted to have a simpler life and have less things, and she's quite happy. This is Kara, who calls herself the Dreadnought Darling, and she calls this place the Fortune Cookie. She said she had an 1,100 square foot house with a heavy mortgage, and that she was living in the garage and she was renting out the homes to other people so she could pay the mortgage, and she was unhappy. So she sold the house, paid off the mortgage, and hired a carpenter to build this thing for her. And she said that, where am I here? She said she's really happy. This is the Veggie Wagon. That's a 5x8 foot flatbed trailer with a 2x4 frame, shelves hinged at the bottom. He sells organic vegetables, and the sides of this open up and they're held up by chains. This is a very much fixed up Airstream trailer that the designer, his name is Allison Lanier, he calls the Arcstream, and it's a patented metal arc that people can snap into place. There's the interior. He calls it a space-saving, sound-surrounded, steam-showered, star observation luxury kitchen cave on wheels. And it's parked on a cliff outside Vancouver and overlooking the coast, and he says it takes 40 minutes to get there by kayak and 2 hours to get to it by car. This is a woman who calls herself the blonde Coyote, and she got this teardrop trailer from a man who built it himself. It's 5 feet by 10 feet. It weighs 600 pounds, and she's been to 31 states. This is one of the women who call themselves Sisters on the Fly. It's an all-girls club. They all have vintage trailers, and they get together for meetings in state parks and all over the country. There's 3,000 of these women in the United States and Britain and Australia. They go fishing, hunting, fishing, camp out, they go fishing, they have meals together, swimming, and adventuring. It's another one of them. This is called the Cricket trailer. It's kind of like an Airstream in that it's very well built and very light and pretty expensive. The guy calls it a covered wagon for the 21st century. It can be pulled by 4-cylinder vehicles. It's an aluminum composite panels, laser cut aluminum skeleton shell, and it's solar powered and off the grid, and it can carry 200 pounds on the roof. The guy's a surfer, and so there are a bunch of surfers that own these things. This is Bear the Tinker. It's a 1905 original undercarriage. It's meant to be pulled by a horse, not a vehicle. And he's a blacksmith. He shoes horses, and he performs as a musician. He travels around to fairs. And he says he thinks his world is a better place, that he's escaping a world that he doesn't agree with. He also told me, he said, people who think I'm poor make a mistake. It's the people who have no dreams that are poor. There's the inside. This is a guy named Ryan Worcester who has a motorcycle fitted with a rack, and he carries a BMX bike on the back. He goes as far as he can on the pavement. This is a guy who traveled 26,000 miles on a 1969 Moto Guzzi from British Columbia down to South America and back. This is a unit in China made out of folded polypropylene. This is my favorite thing in the book, a Gypsy Wagon. I'm just going to have to kind of go fast here to get to the... this is Mark Hansen, and then this is his kind of teardrop trailer that he did. This is a woman who sails single-handed. She also sailed 2,600 miles with a friend in this boat with no GPS and no motor. This is Teresa Carey, who a fire destroyed her home, and so now she lives on this sailboat. This is a Swedish welder named Henrik Lindstrom. He and his girlfriend travel. He works for maybe 3 months as a welder and saves enough money to travel. I'm going to just whip through these last ones here so I have 2 minutes to tell you how we make books. These are 72-foot catamaran. This is a houseboat in England built out of all wood, no plywood. Inside, houseboat, the inside of that houseboat. This is a woman who lives in a houseboat in England. This is a houseboat up in British Columbia. This is the Moron Brothers in Kentucky. They go out fishing in this thing, and they also play bluegrass music. The tugboat up in Canada. Okay. When we were doing shelter in 1972, my friend Jack Fulton and I took a trip to New Mexico, and we shot pictures for the book Shelter, and we were gone for maybe 3 weeks, and on our way home, we were going on the Highway 50, which is mountain ridges and valleys, and it was snowy and cold, and we came down a valley. You could look straight ahead of you, and we saw this figure in the road. We stopped, and here was this guy walking with a Purina dog chow bag over his shoulder and all his belongings. He didn't want to ride, and he was walking, he figured, 6 times around the world. And so we talked to him for a while, and I said to him, look at us here. We've got a car and money, and we're warm. We've got sleeping bags, and you got all your stuff in a bag you're carrying over your shoulder. And he looked right at me, he said, it's all the same. I'm on the road, you're on the road. So somehow when we finished this book, Armand came to mind, so we used him to finish off this book. Thank you.